In a small, beautiful village, there lived a young woman named Ivie. She was an orphan who lived alone. Despite being an orphan and living on her own, she was adored by all the villagers for her kindness towards the elderly. Ivie was always ready to lend a helping hand to anyone in need. Little did they know, she harbored a secret she kept hidden from everyone. Living in the same village was a man named Aosa, often labeled as a madman due to his peculiar behavior during stormy nights. He would be heard shouting and running as if chased by an unseen force. Aosa always looked unkempt. Sometimes, whenever he is passing the village market, some children will be singing songs and following him. Aosa is a fine man, oh, fine man. Aosa is a madman, oh, madman. The children will be singing, and Aosa will be laughing and dancing. Adesuwa, Ivie's best friend, also lives in the same village. Adesuwa and Ivie were inseparable. They spent countless hours together, sharing stories and laughter. Adesuwa would often visit Ivie's home, and in return, Ivie would lend a helping hand at Adesuwa's shop in the village market. Their bond was unbreakable, and wherever Ivie went, Adesuwa was sure to follow. Little did Adesuwa know there was a secret that Ivie kept hidden. One fateful day, as they were returning from the market, they stumbled upon a distressing scene. Two children were hitting Aosa, throwing stones at him. Ivie quickly ran towards them and chased them away, saying, "Stop! Stop doing that to him! If you touch him again, I'll beat you! Stop!" She kept on yelling at them, and when the children saw that she was close, they ran away. When she got to Aosa, with tears streaming down her eyes, she held him and asked, "Are you okay? Did they hurt you? Are you in pain?" Ivie was asking Aosa with teary eyes. "Ivie, are you alright? Why are you crying and talking to a madman?" Adesuwa asked. Confused and concerned, Adesuwa gently held Ivie. It was a side of Ivie that Adesuwa had never witnessed before. Ivie, trying to hide her true emotions, brushed it off with a forced smile and said, "It's nothing. I'm alright." She explained that she couldn't bear to see anyone mistreated, her heart overflowing with empathy. Determined to put the incident behind them, Ivie took hold of Adesuwa's hand and suggested they head home. Adesuwa found it weird that she was asking a madman such questions and also crying, but didn't push further. That night, when Ivie got home, she just laid on her bed and cried. She kept on crying until she drifted off to sleep. The following day, at noon, while the villagers were at the market, Ivie brought some food and drinks to where Aosa was staying, making sure no one was around. She approached him. "I brought your favorite food today," she said. Aosa burst into laughter and started jumping up and down. Sitting beside him, Ivie began feeding him, and he ate calmly. A few minutes later, Adesuwa passed by on her way to Ivie's house, having discovered something strange and needing advice. Seeing Ivie feeding the madman, she exclaimed, "Ivie, what are you doing?" Ivie stood up, stammering, I am feeding him. Is it bad to be kind to him? He's also a human being, is he not?" she asked. Adesuwa looked confused, but didn't want to stress it, and she said, "It's alright, he's also a human being, but I didn't expect you to do that. But it's fine. I have something I need to discuss with you. Please, it's urgent and important." They went to Ivie's house, where Adesuwa tearfully revealed she was pregnant. Ivie, surprised, asked, "You are what?" Amidst her cries, Adesuwa said, "It was my neighbor at the market that first asked if I was pregnant. Because my body was changing, I told her it's not possible because I'm still a virgin and I don't even have a man. So how can I be pregnant? I went to the native doctor and he confirmed the pregnancy." Adesuwa, calm down. "Please stop crying. Please," Ivie said. Ivie tried calming Adesuwa down, but she kept crying until she fell asleep. The next morning, she mentioned wanting to abort the baby due to the uncertainty about the father. "What if something bad happens to you? What if something goes wrong? I understand your predicament, but I don't think removing the pregnancy is the best solution to this," Ivie said, and Adesuwa started crying again and said, Why me? Why me? Who would want to marry me now? Ivie kept convincing her until she decided to keep the pregnancy. I'll be with you, and I promise to make sure you don't lack anything, Ivie said. They hugged each other and Adesuwa left. After 6 months, Adesuwa's stomach grew larger and the entire village became aware of her pregnancy. The villagers began to discriminate against her, preventing her from attending the women's meeting. As she walked past groups of young girls, they whispered about her, saying, "Look at her. She opened her legs for a man, and now he dumped her." And whenever she walked past groups of young men, they would call her derogatory names like Ashawo, Ashawo. One day, on her way to the market, a man confronted her, reminding her of his past proposal to her. He said, "Adesuwa, look at you now. I wanted to marry you, but you said you don't want to get married yet. Now look at you. Who will marry you?" Adesuwa didn't say anything. She quickly ran back home. On her way, she bumped into Aosa, the madman, and Aosa started calling her, my wife, come, my wife, come." Adesuwa kept running, and when she got to her house, she started crying. She cried, and from that day onwards, she stayed indoors. 3 days later, Ivie couldn't find Adesuwa anywhere. Worried, she decided to pay her a visit to her house. To her surprise, she found Adesuwa in tears. Without hesitation, Ivie embraced her tightly, comforting her. Adesuwa poured her heart out, sharing all the hardships she had been facing. Ivie's heart ached for her friend, and she made a heartfelt offer. "Come stay with me, Adesuwa. You don't have to go through this alone." Adesuwa gratefully accepted, and together they moved to Ivie's home. From that day forward, Ivie made it her mission to ensure that Adesuwa lacked nothing. She showered her with love and support, helping her heal from the pain she had endured. When Adesuwa expressed her desire to return to her shop, Ivie encouraged her. "I think it's a wonderful idea," Ivie said, "but I'll always accompany you, just to be safe." Adesuwa agreed wholeheartedly. The following day, as Adesuwa and Ivie made their way to the shop, they encountered a group of women who began gossiping about Adesuwa right in front of her. Ivie couldn't stand by silently. She approached them with determination, speaking up for her best friend. "Aren't you ashamed of yourselves?" Ivie exclaimed. "Look at Kettle calling pot black. You, Osas, who was born out of wedlock, have the audacity to insult my best friend. This ends now. I won't tolerate any more name-calling or gossip about her." With that, Ivie held Adesuwa's hand tightly and walked away, leaving the women stunned. Adesuwa felt immense gratitude towards Ivie for standing up for her. Ivie also made it clear to the men who used to call Adesuwa derogatory names that they should never try it again if they didn't want trouble with her. Nobody wanted to be on Ivie's bad side, considering how she always went above and beyond to help others. As a result, the name-calling and gossiping about Adesuwa came to an end. Adesuwa couldn't contain her joy the day she ventured out alone, and nobody uttered a single insult. She was happy to see that Ivie's words had made a difference. However, on her way back from the market, she passed Aosa's place, and immediately Aosa saw her. He started calling her, my wife, my wife, my wife." He kept saying it and laughing. People who were passing started looking at Adesuwa very strangely. She rushed home and told Ivie, but she dismissed it as nothing serious. One night, as they lay sleeping, Adesuwa suddenly began to shout. Startled, Ivie woke up and asked her what was wrong. Adesuwa explained that she had a dream where she saw Aosa, the madman, claiming her child as his own and approaching her. Thankfully, she woke up and realized it was just a dream. "Oh, Adesuwa," Ivie said, "I think you're taking this Aosa guy too seriously." However, before Ivie could finish her sentence, Adesuwa's water broke and she started screaming for help. "Please, Ivie, help me. I think the baby is coming," she cried out. Without hesitation, Ivie rushed outside and called for the village midwives. As soon as the midwives arrived, heavy rain began to pour, even though there had been no sign of rain before. Adesuwa started pushing, and coincidentally, the rain intensified. After a few minutes of pushing, she successfully gave birth to a baby boy. Ivie was overjoyed when the midwife handed her the baby. Holding the child in her arms, she whispered, "Finally, I have fulfilled my own promise." Ivie took care of Adesuwa and her baby, ensuring their well-being. However, whenever Adesuwa expressed her desire to return to her own house, Ivie always found an excuse to make her stay with her instead. This continued until the baby turned 6 months old. Adesuwa then decided it was time to start going back to her shop, so she left Ivie's house. Although Ivie wasn't happy about it, she accompanied Adesuwa to her home. As the baby grew older, he began to bear a striking resemblance to Aosa, the madman. This sparked conversations among the villagers. To make matters more shocking, Aosa started visiting Adesuwa's shop frequently. Ever since she began going there with her baby, he would sit across the shop, observing Adesuwa and the child. One day, while Adesuwa was busy attending to a customer, she unknowingly left the baby on a chair inside the shop. Lost in her calculations, she didn't notice when the baby almost fell. At that moment, Aosa swiftly ran towards the baby and caught him just in time. As Aosa carried the baby, the commotion caught Adesuwa's attention, causing people to start shouting. Without hesitation, she hurried inside and swiftly took the baby from Aosa's hands, pushing him outside. The children nearby began hitting Aosa, but he just kept repeating, "Baby, baby," and laughing. Following that incident, Adesuwa started noticing how Aosa would always sit across from her shop, observing her. Initially, she felt unease, but after a neighbor explained that Aosa had saved her child from falling and meant no harm, she felt more at ease. "So he saved my child from falling off the chair. Is that what you are telling me, Mama?" Adesuwa asked the old woman. The old woman nodded and replied, "Yes, my dear." She continued, "Not all mad people are truly mad, my daughter. I witnessed how you treated him that day, and I must say, it wasn't a good way to show gratitude to someone who was kind to you." After their conversation, Adesuwa took some food from the groceries she had bought and brought it to where Aosa was sitting. Approaching him with fear, she was relieved to see his calm demeanor. Apologetically, she handed him the food and said, "I'm sorry for the way I treated you. Please forgive me, and thank you for saving my child." Adesuwa's remorse was evident in her words. Aosa accepted the food and began eating. Adesuwa left, returning to her tasks. At the end of the day, she went straight to Ivie's house and shared the whole story. Ivie smiled and said, "I told you, they are human beings too. You should learn to be kind to him and everyone else. From this day forward, my dear sister, I vow to treat him with kindness. It's strange though, he always comes and sits across from my shop, watching me and my baby every single day." Adesuwa remarked. Ivie jokingly said, "Maybe he likes you." Adesuwa burst into laughter, saying, "Ha! Like a madman. Ivie, I beg, don't say that." As Adesuwa's child grew older, he began to resemble Aosa more and more. Aosa continued his daily visit to the shop. One day, while Adesuwa was attending to a customer, her son, Idahosa, ran towards Aosa and climbed onto his lap. Aosa started singing and dancing, and Idahosa joined in clapping. When Adesuwa turned around and saw them together, she rushed over to separate them. As she tried to untangle their hair, Aosa suddenly collapsed. Ivie was on her way to Adesuwa's shop when she noticed a commotion. People were gathering, and she hurried towards them. When she saw Aosa lying on the ground, she ran to his side, crying out his name. "Aosa! Aosa, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me alone in this world. Please don't die." Ivie pleaded through tears. The villagers were confused, and even Adesuwa, her best friend, was taken aback. Ivie continued to cry and beg Aosa to wake up. After a few minutes, Aosa slowly opened his eyes and called out Ivie's name. He embraced her, tears streaming down his face. Everyone present was shocked. Adesuwa, looking directly at Ivie, asked, "What is happening here? Please explain." Ivie looked back at Adesuwa and said, "I'm truly sorry for everything, Adesuwa, but I promise to explain everything to you. Let's all go to my house." "All?" Adesuwa asked. Yes, Adesuwa. Aosa is my brother, Ivie said, with tears streaming down her face. Everybody shouted, Brother! Adesuwa, still trying to process the information, closed her shop and followed Ivie and Aosa. When they arrived at Ivie's house, she immediately assisted Aosa in taking a bath, shaving his beard, and cutting his hair. She cooked and fed him without giving Adesuwa, who was still processing everything, a chance to speak. Ivie was completely occupied with Aosa, while Adesuwa sat there observing them. After Aosa had a long bath and finished eating, he fell asleep. Adesuwa approached Ivie and inquired, What is really happening, Ivie? I have been your closest friend for as long as I can remember, yet you never mentioned having a brother or any family members. You told me your parents were deceased and that you are an orphan. Is there something I'm missing? I'm truly sorry, Adesuwa, for not informing you earlier. But I'm even more sorry for what you're about to discover. Something I did to you, Ivie confessed. Confused, Adesuwa demanded, What do you mean, Ivie? What did you do to me? Stop keeping me in suspense and start explaining. Ivie began to explain. When my parents had Aosa, he didn't behave like a normal child, so they sought the help of native doctors in our village, and one of them revealed the truth. The native doctor said that Aosa was born on a wrong day, the day of the big masquerade in our village. Adesuwa, shocked by this revelation, asked, Wait, you are also not from this village? I'm actually not from this village, Ivie confessed. Adesuwa looked at her in surprise and asked, Then who are you, Ivie? Ivie took a deep breath and replied, I know this is a lot to take in, Adesuwa, and I'm sorry for not telling you sooner, but please, just listen to my story and you would understand why. In my hometown of Uneme village, there is a tradition involving a grand and dangerous masquerade that only appears once a year. During the preparations for this masquerade, nobody is allowed to leave their homes, and it's kept a secret until midnight. It's believed that no child should be born on that day, as there are consequences for them. The elders and some midwives are the only ones aware of this tradition, and they provide a substance to pregnant women to delay their labor until the next day. However, when Aosa was born, the midwife my father called wasn't aware of the masquerade happening that day. She later revealed that her colleague knew but didn't inform her due to a fight they had. This mistake had a profound impact on Aosa's life. As he grew up, my parents noticed that he was behaving strangely, almost like a mad person. They kept a close eye on him, but one day, after I was born, he disappeared from our village. Despite our desperate search, we couldn't find him. My mother couldn't bear the pain and eventually passed away. It was on my father's deathbed that he revealed the truth to me, sharing the whole story of what had happened. His final wish before passing was for me to find Aosa and ensure the continuation of our family line. He revealed that the native doctor had advised him to appease the masquerade, assuring him that Aosa would regain his health. However, there was a condition attached. Before turning 35, Aosa must become a father. Only then could we hope for his complete recovery. After my father passed away, I took some of the gold he left for me and embarked on a journey to find my brother Aosa. It took me 2 years, but I finally located him. I decided to settle in the village where he lived, thanks to the money I had. Since then, I have been taking care of him and ensuring his well-being. Adesuwa, I know what I did may be hard to forgive, but I did it for my brother and our family. I had to keep it a secret from you because I knew you wouldn't approve. Aosa is the father of your child, Idahosa. What? What did you just say? Adesuwa asked, her voice trembling. Time was running out for my brother, and I had no one else to turn to for help. So one night, when you stayed over at my place, I put a sleeping potion in your food and drink. I also gave Aosa some medicine that made him follow me and ultimately make love to you. Adesuwa couldn't even finish her sentence before tears started streaming down her face. You knew who got me pregnant. You orchestrated the whole thing, but pretended not to know. You are wicked, Ivie. You stood by as everyone mistreated me. You made me sleep with a madman, Ivie. I thought you were my friend, but you are nothing but evil and selfish. With that, Adesuwa picked up her child and left in anger. That night, Ivie couldn't sleep. She knew Adesuwa would be upset, but she felt relieved to have finally revealed the truth. She was consumed with guilt and remorse as she reflected on the situation before eventually drifting off to sleep. When she woke up the following day, her brother stood before her, looking fresh and incredibly handsome. After recounting the events to him, they embraced tightly, tears streaming down their faces. Aosa suggested giving Adesuwa some time to calm down. It didn't take long for the news of Ivie's secret to spread throughout the entire village. Whispers filled the air, with some people remarking, "No wonder Aosa resembles Aosa so much. It all makes sense now." After a few weeks, Aosa resumed his visit to Adesuwa's shop. He spent a week at his usual meeting spot before Adesuwa finally invited him over. From that day forward, their friendship blossomed. Days later, Adesuwa paid a visit to Ivie's house. After a warm embrace, she uttered the words, "I forgive you for everything you have done. You were right. If you had told me earlier, I wouldn't have accepted it. But I understand why you did what you did. I have forgiven you," Adesuwa said. Ivie hugged her tightly, expressing her gratitude. Feeling that the villagers would forever view him as a madman, Aosa made the decision to return to his own village. When he revealed his intention to marry Adesuwa, she gladly accepted. Aosa brought his wife Adesuwa, his son Idahosa, and his sister Ivie to Uneme. There, he established a business and continued his family's legacy. If you were in Adesuwa's shoes, would you have forgiven Ivie, your best friend, for her actions? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, please click on the video right here. I promise you will love it too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and leave a comment. Thank you all so much for being part of my 1000 subscribers. Your love and support mean the world to me. Stay kind and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.